Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Chodesh Tov. We come to the end of the book of Bamidbar. We get a double parasha this week of Matot and Maaseh, which talks of the tribes and then the journeys. But we also have, as I said before, Rosh Chodesh, and which is bringing in the month of Av, which brings us into the 9 days that lead us to Tisha B'Av. And so we go from this period of 3 weeks and continue through it to a more acute time of mourning, and as we head toward the destruction of our temple, toward Tisha B'Av. And part of the parasha that begins with Matot is that it speaks about a war that is raged against the Midianite people and the role that they played in trying to plot against the Israelites and to try and destroy them. And so part of the details that the Torah gives us is of this war and the account of this war. And there's a stunning teaching that was brought by the fifth Lubavitcher Rabbi, who's known as Rav Shalom Dovber Schneerson. So he's a part of this line, and also the Hasidic teachings, and you'll hear the pulse of the teachers who come before him in this teaching. And he taught this on Simchat Torah in 1898, but it's always beautiful how Torah resonates and is so true through all of the years. He speaks about the word in Hebrew of the Midian, or this idea that actually in Hebrew it gives us, the translation is strife. And that within this Midian, this strife that we have, there's the essence of us being divided. That in order to have that, we're not one, but we're separate. And that, he says, is the root of all evil. He says, thus our sages speak of this groundless hatred, and we go into this time, one of the teachings is that there's sinah chinam, that why was the temple destroyed? Because of senseless hatred, because of groundless hatred. He says that that is the greatest of evils, and he says, in truth, actually, all strife is groundless hatred. The so-called grounds or reasons why we might actually think that it's okay that a people and a nation's have for hating or destroying one another are but the various facades that we have of the divisive eye. We were playing around, we think maybe he's playing with some of the language even in the Hebrew here, Midian, Ani, some of that, maybe, not sure, but playing with that. And he says that that's the ego, that's the part of us that it hides us and keeps us from understanding that the common source and the goal of humanity is that we view and understand that the very existence of others is actually part of us, and that the trouble comes and that this evil comes when we start to feel and encounter and feel that other is an encroachment upon ourself, that it takes away from who we are. And he says that on the cosmic level, and this is a very Hasidic teaching, on the cosmic level, God is the ultimate oneness. And everything godly in our world bears this stamp of God's unity. That all evil derives from this distortion of this oneness by the veil of this divisiveness in which God shrouds God's creations. That we are given a veil, that there's this sense that we're separate, and so therefore when badness and evil is happening, it's when we forget that we are so deeply a part of something bigger than ourselves, that all of us are deeply connected with nature, with the world, with everything around us. And it is hard to feel that. I think our tradition knows that. We say the Shema 3 times a day. We declare this 3 times a day. And in this Hasidic teaching, this idea of declaring this oneness, the hope is that we can strive spiritually to grasp even a millisecond of that feeling of oneness, of that connectedness. And in particular, as we open and we read the news today and every day, but this week, the images that are coming out of Gaza of children who are starving. Children who are starving. It's hard to even find words. Part of this teaching is saying, those are our children. They're our children, that the soldiers who are falling, who are dying, are our teenagers and our young adults, that the people who are suffering, that are hostages, who are in tunnels, who are suffering for an unbelievable amount of time, they are us, and we are them, and that pain and that suffering, we feel it so deeply. The calendar says to us, feel the brokenness. We feel it. We don't need the calendar to remind us this year. We feel that brokenness, and what we say and what we hope for and what we strive for multiple times a day is to say we feel so broken because we understand that we're all a part of this one, that we are all a part of something that is us and we are them. And it's this moment on Shabbat, this moment that the mystics believe, the moment that we go into Baruch, the moment that the oneness all comes together. Even God, the mystics have an idea that there are different parts. God is always one, but there are different pieces, just as all of us are made up of so many different pieces and parts of who we are that come together. God, too, in this moment, all of that aligns, and that the upper worlds and the lower worlds, this is the very moment of oneness that we strive to feel, that we want to feel. And for those of you who are sitting here and you're like, I am not a mystic, and maybe you're a scientist, I'm going to bring you a beautiful quote from Albert Einstein, who says the same thing. And I have taught this before, and it is so profound. A human being is a part of a whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He or she experiences themselves, their thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of this consciousness, of our own consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our own personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. That is not a mystic, that is a scientist, and a very well-known scientist. It is our job. Shabbat is coming this week, every week, 3 times a day, but right now in particular, to feel that responsibility, to feel a part of humanity, and to do whatever it is that we can to go from the broken into the whole. And we are far, far from that whole. But in this moment of Shabbat, we get to taste it. We get to hold it. If we close our eyes, we might even touch it together. And so in this moment, we're going to sing Kol Brué. It's a beautiful piyut. It's a stunning piyut, just like the teaching, going back to this idea that each of us, what keeps us from each other, this senseless hatred, is that we forget that we are so bound up with one another. And we say in this piyut, we keep going back to this idea, Kol Brué Mala Umata, all the creatures of earth and heaven together are going to bear witness in saying that God, the eternal one, is God's name, and God's name is one. And we're going to declare that, and we're going to say it, and the spiritual reaching that we are begged to do is not only to think about it, but is even, as I said, for just one moment, may we be blessed to feel that oneness.